The first step to making our rainbow cheesecake is to bake the crust. I've got 1.5 cups of crushed Oreo cookies and some butter. You could also use graham crackers if you'd prefer, but with the raspberry, the chocolate crust is going to taste really great. Let's get started. I melted 4 tablespoons of butter and I'm going to pour that into our Oreo cookie crumbs. And then I'm just going to stir this up until it starts to come together. Next, I'm going to take my crumbs and put them in the bottom of a 9-inch spring-form pan. Then I'm going to use my hands and press it down firmly and as evenly as possible. Now we're going to place it in a 350-degree oven for 10 to 12 minutes. Our crust is cooled and now we're ready to make our cheesecake batter. I'm not going to go over all the ingredients up front. We'll go over them as we put them in, and they'll all be in the description box below. To my stand mixer, I'm going to add 32 ounces of cream cheese. This is 4 8-ounce blocks. And I'm going to add 1 1/2 cups of granulated sugar. Now we're going to cream these together. Next, we'll stir in 3/4 cup of milk. As we add the rest of the ingredients, we're going to mix this at a low speed. We don't want to over mix this batter, otherwise it'll lead to cracking of our final cheesecake. So I'm going to stir it in just until it's blended. Next, we're going to blend in 4 eggs, one at a time. And again, we're just going to stir this up until they're incorporated. Next, I'm going to add 1 cup of sour cream, 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour, and 1 tablespoon of vanilla extract. And we'll just blend that in. I divided my batter between 6 bowls, and I'm going to start with 2 bowls here, and we're going to make these our raspberry layers. I also pureed some raspberries. We did a video on how to make raspberry puree. I'll put a link to that in the description box. And I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of the puree to each of these bowls. And we'll just stir that in. Next, I'm going to use some red and blue food coloring, and I'm going to color one a bright red and the other purple. I'm using gel food coloring here because you can use less and it gives you a brighter, nicer color. Now that I have my red and purple complete, I'm going to work on my other 4 bowls of batter and dye in the other colors of the rainbow. I've got my other 4 colors done. Now we're ready to put the batter in our pan. I've wrapped my springform pan in a couple layers of tin foil because we're going to bake this in a water bath, so we want to make sure that no water seeps into our pan and ruins our cheesecake. Now, to put the batter in, I'm going to start with the raspberry purple layer. You can really do these in any order that you want. And I am just going to pour it right down into the middle of our crust and just let it spread out on its own. Next, I'm going to do the blue layer, and I'm going to again pour it right into the middle of our pan on top of the purple, and we're just going to let this spread out on its own. We're just going to keep doing the same process until we get all of our colors in. I've put all my colors in other than the red, and that's what I'm going to finish with. And again, this has the raspberry flavor in it. So we're going to have a raspberry layer on the bottom and a raspberry layer on top. I've put my cheesecake into this roasting pan. I didn't have one big enough, so I just bought this aluminum foil one at the grocery store. I think it was less than $3, so it wasn't a big deal. I'm going to fill the roasting pan with boiling water until it reaches about an inch up the side of the springform pan. Then I'm going to bake it in the 325-degree oven for 1:40 to 1:50 minutes. We want the edges to be set but still a little jiggly in the middle. Then we're going to turn off the oven and prop the door open just an inch. Just stick a little towel in or something just to prop the door open a little bit. And we're going to just let it set in that warm oven for about 2 to 3 hours. That will help minimize the risk of getting cracks on top of your cheesecake. I just took the cheesecake out of the oven. It looks great. It doesn't have any cracks on the top. It's nice and level. It didn't sink down into the middle like sometimes happens. So I'm going to loosely cover the pan in aluminum foil and put it in the refrigerator to set overnight. Tomorrow we'll take it out of the springform pan and cut us a slice and see how it came out. I put my cheesecake on this cake plate and removed it from the springform pan. It came out really easy and nice and clean. You can now decorate the top of the cheesecake if you'd like. We have a video on how to make a stabilized whipped cream frosting. Would be really good. You could put that all over the top. You could add some rainbow Skittles, some rainbow sprinkles. You could do whatever you want. I am going to leave this plain and just do a little decoration on the plate. We're ready to cut into our cheesecake. I've got my dessert plate and I've got a nice sharp knife and some paper towels handy, and you'll see why here in a minute. So let's cut us a piece of our cheesecake. Once you make one slice, you want to take the paper towels and wipe off your knife. This will help prevent mixing the colors of our rainbow cheesecake. Here's a slice of our rainbow cheesecake. I think it's really cool. Let's go ahead and decorate up our plate just a little bit. I'm being a little bit lazy, so instead of whipping up my own whipped cream like I normally do, I'm going to use a canned Ready Whip whipped cream. And I've got some rainbow sprinkles here. And I am just going to put a dab of our whipped cream right here. Put a pretty good sized dollop of our whipped cream on it. I think it's in the Constitution that you have to serve whipped cream with cheesecake. And then I'm just going to add a little bit of our rainbow sprinkles on our whipped cream. And maybe scatter a little bit around the plate just to make it look good. And there you have our raspberry rainbow New York style cheesecake. I hope you enjoyed today's video on how to make this rainbow cheesecake. Please join our channel, check out our other videos. We hope to see you back soon.